Guys, welcome to my channel. For today, we are going to do the weekly astrology and tarot forecast. And this week, Capricorn is the star of the show. So we're going to see what Capricorn is all about. We have a new moon and a couple of transits with Venus, the goddess of pleasure and love. So I'm going to walk you through the transits for this week. And then I'm also at the end going to do a tarot card reading to give you guys guidance on how to survive, how to keep your noggin sane for the week. And before we begin, if you're new to my channel and you don't know me, I just want to give a quick introduction. My name is Valentine Lister. I'm an astrologer and tarot card reader, and I like to consider myself a YouTuber as well. And on this channel, I do videos on astrology, like the ones I'm doing today. I do this weekly forecast every Sunday. And I also do other videos on tarot, astrology, and just spirituality in general, things that I've learned and think are cool and want to share with you. If you want to know a little bit more about me, who I am, you can go to my website, valentinelister.com. Okay, so the first transit that we have is on Sunday, January 2nd. We have the new moon in Capricorn, and this is going to be interesting. So new moons generally are talking about the beginning of something, the start of something, planting a seed. Now, there's different cycles that we can look at, like for the moon. So like one of the things that I found helpful is like we can look at the new moon as a new start over a 6-month cycle, like the new moon in Capricorn to the full moon in Capricorn. But what I find helpful is just looking at things a little bit at a time. And that's why I do like these weekly forecasts and looking at the days, because if we look too far ahead of us, like we forget even what we were supposed to be looking at. So we also can look at the new moon as starting a cycle for the month over the next couple of weeks. And traditionally with new moons, when ancient cultures like ancient Greeks, or even further than that, like I believe like ancient Egypt used a lunar calendar, correct me if I'm wrong. But you would use the lunar cycle, you would use the moon to see what was going to be happening that month and what you would be focusing on over the next couple of weeks. So this new moon shows us where we're going for the next couple of weeks until we have the new moon, or not, sorry, the full moon in Cancer. And so from the new moon to the full moon, the new moon is the start where we don't really see where we're going. We don't see ahead of us. We just know something new is beginning. And the chart gives a clue as to what that new beginning is going to be. And then that full moon also lets us know the road that we're headed, that like by the full moon, we're going to see something illuminated about like this axis between Capricorn and, sorry about that, and Cancer. So generally with Capricorn, a Saturn rule sign, we're talking about boundaries, restrictions, security, doing things in a way that we feel comfortable with. So tradition, like keeping close to our roots, especially in an earth sign, keeping close like to our family. And then Cancer is the other aspect of that. So we have Capricorn, which is physical security, but then we have Cancer, which is emotional security and emotional nurturance, like the light of our lives, things that help us to feel loved and nourished and taken care of, where we feel emotionally secure and emotionally fulfilled and really emotionally connected. All right, so what is this new beginning for the next couple of weeks going to be until we have that full moon on January 17th? So we've got a big clue what this new moon and this new start is related to, because it's with Venus in Capricorn. And we know that if you've been looking at the transits, Venus in Capricorn, Venus is going through a retrograde cycle, and it's making changes and making changes in our comfort zone when it comes to pleasure, physical security, so security in our relationships, and not just that emotional security that's that's like the Cancer part of it. On the other, like the opposite side, right? If we have this like opposition here, but we're talking about physical security. So Capricorn is like, put a ring on it, pay my bills, go to work, take care of me. That's how you show you love me. And also with Venus in Capricorn, Venus in Capricorn like finds pleasure in being taken care of, because then they can actually breathe when they know that those, when Venus in Capricorn is taken care of and has that physical security, they're feeling like, okay, now I can relax. Now I can enjoy the other like physical pleasures in life, such as like going to the restaurants I want, buying the food that I like, cooking the way that I want, um, relaxing enough to have sex, like good sex. Also taking naps. I can finally take a nap. So things like that. Um, and Venus in Capricorn is going through big changes. So we have Venus. Venus is the goddess of pleasure, love, desire, fertility, um, relationships, but in a way that like gives us pleasure. So we can think of relationships as far as like even contracts, like marriage, um, or like business relationships, even with Venus. And so Venus and this new moon and Pluto is being hosted by Capricorn in Aquarius. And so part of this new moon start is looking at how we can find physical security and pleasure and emotional fulfillment, um, and implement the ideas, implement the ideas that we've had on what we want to see as far as this like physical security and pleasure and our relationships. um, because Saturn in Aquarius, which is hosting this new moon, is all about protecting our ideas of what we think we should do, setting a boundary and going, this is what I think should be implemented, and this is what I think about how things should be done. And I'm not budging. Like, my ideas are my ideas. You're free to think what you want and free to think about how you want to do things, but this is the way I want to do things. And seeing that vision through. So we're seeing a vision coming through as far as our relationships in our, like, most likely like our home environment. But it could be friendships, business partnerships, um, and really implementing what we think should happen. But that's causing difficult changes. So this new moon is emphasizing that we're having a new beginning over the next couple of weeks in making these changes in our relationships when it comes to like physical pleasure and security. But it's going to be difficult because Pluto is about changing things, but the way it changes things is that it brings up like our worst nightmares and fears, because Pluto was the god of the underworld. So he brought up both our wildest dreams and our biggest nightmares. And it's generally things that we have trouble seeing. Like it's too tough on us emotionally to see it most of the time. So it's like kind of healthy not to look at those things, but Pluto brings those things up, and says, like, it's time to deal with this. Like, come on, let's deal with this. Um, so difficult changes, like in our relationships and love over the next couple of weeks. And Venus is sextiling Neptune. So kind of like we've been feeling like disillusioned in our relationships, and really need to make a change, but really feeling like rigid, like about our changes. Like, I'm not budging. Like, this is the way that things are going to be. This is the vision that I have. This is what I think should be done. And really demanding that from other people. And really implementing that strategy, because the other thing that we have that day is Mercury ingressing into Aquarius. And with that Mercury ingressing into Aquarius, that's even more so emphasizing our plan and our strategy for life, right? As far as like our relationships go, and how we want to see things done, right? Because Mercury is the god of games, strategy, playfulness, business deals, negotiations. And so Mercury is like making this big change as the new moon is starting. And so it's also letting us know, like I was saying about Aquarius, that we have ideas of how we think things should be done. And Mercury is going to find a strategy and going to find a way to be able to implement that strategy in a very clever, playful, and mischievous way. So we're going to get what's ours and what we want, But that doesn't mean it won't come without difficulty. So the other thing I want to mention before I move on is that we're probably going to find some kind of relief or breakthrough or we're going to be able to find some liberation and some relief because this new moon is trining Uranus in Taurus. And so that physical security, the way we want to actually like tangibly see things done is going to be happening. We're going to have a breakthrough in some way. Okay, so the next transit that we have is on Wednesday, January 5th. It's kind of light for the transits this week, but maybe we'll need a breather after that new moon. I don't know what breakthroughs or changes we made. So what we have going on is, like I said, spotlight on Capricorn and that Venus, because the next two transit, the rest of the transits this week are about this Venus in Capricorn. So Venus is going to make a sextile to Neptune. And this is actually a revisit with this retrograde. So when planets retrograde, they go backwards, right? And they revisit the transits. That's why we talk about retrogrades as reflecting on things, because they're going back through situations that they just were in order to, like, the universe is like, look at this again, revisit it, make any adjustments. It's kind of like when it's kind of like when you write something and it's the rough draft and then you need to read it over, look it over again, like fix it up, and then look over that draft again before you turn it in. That's kind of how you could look at these retrogrades when they go back over these transits. So we're having some deja vu. And basically with Venus sextile Neptune, like honestly, there can be disillusionment in our relationships. And totally like looking at that new moon, like we saw that, like, some type of like disillusionment, like we're not feeling like the way, I don't know, like people are treating us or I mean, the thing is though, this disillusionment can definitely fuel change. Because like, so first of all, we have it, next to Pluto, making those tough changes, but Venus is like combust under the sun. And there's something about like we're feeling disillusionment in our relationships, like from like maybe our spouses or our partners, like fathers, bosses, leaders, right? What the sun represents, or some kind of disillusionment with a source or a place or a person where we found truth. So it could be even just like your belief system or who you look up to mentor you, or what you look up to for the truth, because the sun represents truth being illuminated and our legacy. And when Venus is under the sun, that means like we don't really see things coming when it comes to our relationships or things that we're doing. It could be something that like this person that we're looking to in our relationship for love or pleasure or harmony, or just like to lead us or give us some type of security in some way, is doing something underhanded, right? And that's making us feel disillusioned. Like that's kind of the feel of it. But again, it's hosted with that Saturn in Aquarius, and then we have that moon in Aquarius. We're going to be like, okay, I don't really care about you and your feelings. Like, I have a vision of how I want things, and I'm going to do what I want. So it's fueling this productive change where we're like, this is what gives me pleasure. This is what gives me security. Move out of my way, like my way or the highway. I'm going to get what's mine. I'm going to get what I want. And I don't really care about your feelings. And again, it's kind of like causing this liberation for us with that trine to Uranus now, like a whole sign trine right there. So I'm just going to give some quick examples just to give you an idea of like maybe like some type of like things that happened, like things that I saw. So like, you know, like things along the lines of like someone trying to scam me, right? I was on YouTube looking at tarot card videos and someone tries to scam me, which is happening on YouTube right now, right? They're like, come, I'll give you this reading. Like, thanks for watching my channel. And it's a freaking scam. And that's interesting because it relates to the sun and Neptune, because the sun can also relate to divination. Traditionally, the sun was related to divination because illuminating the soul and the muses. Um, And like the other thing that happened was I'll just give you like examples in the media. So like Chris Cuomo, he was suspended when he got suspended like from his position like as like a news anchor. Honestly, I don't really watch I don't watch a show, so I forget which which like newscast he's on, right? But I know his brother um is like Governor Cuomo, and there was like the sexual harassment scandal. So they thought like he's helping out his brother secretly, right? Combust under the sun. So he got excused. So like there was some disillusionment with him, like someone we look up to like for the news to tell us the truth, and he's doing something underhanded with his relationships. Um, like the other thing, kind of gruesome, but there is like that Michigan school shooting with the sun and Neptune. So we might see that in the news. Um, there is like disillusionment in my personal relationship, and seeing like disillusionment in other people's relationships was a big thing. And what do people usually fight about? It's like someone's drinking too much, using substances. They're going out like doing things that they shouldn't do with other people. So many scenarios with that. You can insert your own scenario, or spending too much money and not telling us, like you know, all of those things, or being like really nasty to us. And you know what? We're saying that that's not going to fly anymore. Is the theme of this week. But it can also be nice things. Want to give some positive examples. So, like, I don't know, like, what do I have here? Like, well, one of them was I forgot plans, like to go to, there was like an event for my child's school that I didn't really feel like going to, and I forgot about it, and I didn't feel bad about it. I was like, whatever. And usually I would like be so upset. I'm like, oh my God, I let them down. I should have gone. They're expecting me to go. And I'm like, who cares, right? So pleasure, like kind of like, who cares? Like, I'll do what I want. Not that it's irresponsible. I still took care of things. I really didn't actually have to go. But just forget it. You can forget about things or not follow through with plans and be like, whatever, do what I want. Um, kind of like let yourself off the hook a little bit and relax a little bit more. So I did a rose quartz bath, like with my rose quartz. So like my bath ritual, that can be very Venus and Capricorn with that Neptune, getting into the water, like having water involved. Um, it could be, what's the other thing that I had? Um, yeah, it could be wild sex. Like, I'll just leave it at that. Leave it at that. So things along those lines. There can be so many scenarios with this. So some kind of disillusionment, but it could lead to like positive changes, really feeling liberated and really like just being like, this is what I want to do. This is what I want. Give me what I want. Venus and Capricorn. Okay, and the last transit we have before I get into the tarot reading is on Saturday, January 8th. We have a lovely Venus Cazimi. So Cazimi means that the planet, there's a planet in the center of the sun. So remember I talked about for yesterday how like the sun was like, it was kind of like in a close conjunction with the sun, and that there were like things that were underhanded or hidden, right? There are things that we don't see coming when a planet is under the sun. So surprises. But we have a break from that and a breakthrough when Venus is in the center of the sun. So we can think of that planet as being purified, as being like the purest version of the planet. And we do see that planet very clearly, and we can see things very clearly because the sun, the god of like truth, and illuminating, illuminating the truth, is holding up this Venus and going like, here's Venus in Capricorn, making her the star of the show. She's the star of the show anyway of this week. But especially so when we have that Venus Cazimi. So on days with Venus Cazimi, one thing you might notice is that it might just be a really lovely day, like a beautiful day where you look around and just see beauty all around you. Like I see this happen whenever there's a Cazimi, but especially the fact that it's Venus Cazimi. And remember, Venus is the goddess of love, pleasure, sexuality, like beauty, harmony in our relationships, like getting what we want in our relationships. is very Venus. So we'll see this pure form of Venus in Capricorn, which I mentioned before, but like the big theme of Venus in Capricorn is like, you better work hard to give me pleasure. And Venus in Capricorn, she also finds pleasure in working hard. She's not slacking off like Venus in Capricorn. When she's in Capricorn, really does find pleasure in being there for people, being a solid foundation for others, like in that earth sign. So she's a solid foundation for others. She's willing to work hard on her relationships. She's willing to commit in her relationships, but you better believe that you better commit too. Venus in Capricorn is not about like, oh, let's date a few people at once, or, like, let's leave our relationship open and not define it. She's like, no, like, you better lock it down. Although Venus in Capricorn does have this aspect of, if they're not secure with you, they're not committing, right? They're going to have their backup plan if they feel like Venus and Capricorn. So you may feel like with the Venus and Capricorn energy, if the people that you're in relationships with or like aren't coming through for you, you have a backup plan. You have like one or two or three, whatever other people that you can go to for that security. And so you actually may not commit to someone until you 100% know that that you're 100% secure with that person. So that's another aspect of Venus in Capricorn. So I just want to give you some so what Venus in Capricorn is and what I noticed like when Venus ingressed Capricorn recently. So like things along the lines, like examples that I saw, just to give you kind of like, to me, it's sometimes helpful to have a visual or like have an idea of an example of the type of things it could be. Although it's really going to depend on you, what your chart is, how it's going to look for you. When Venus ingressed Capricorn, the 1.2 trillion infrastructure bill passed here in the United States. So spending a ton of money to fix like things like roads and bridges and things like that. I know there's other stuff in the bill that didn't have to do with infrastructure, but I'm just pointing out how that infrastructure, it was called the infrastructure bill. And so when we're thinking of Venus in Capricorn, physical security, so getting our roads and bridges fixed, things like that is very Venus in Capricorn. Also, I noticed like in the media, so people who are usually like friendly to each other, like having debates on what they think is the right thing to do, like on Twitter, like kind of a Twitter debate. But also, one big thing with Venus in Capricorn that I saw when it ingressed was having friends or colleagues like help you with like things like business, like physical resources, money. So it could be even like with school or your job or business or your home, like, having a friend or coworker or boss, mentor help you with a physical resource out of respect for you and also out of a sense of duty for you and your relationship with each other. So you may see kind of examples of that with this Venus Cazimi. And one thing with Venus, if you want to get like someone with Capricorn placements sentimental, talk about your history and traditions, and your legacy and your home and family. So you might have this feeling of just being blown away by the beauty of traditions, your legacy, your history, your family, and really feeling like touched in the heart by those things. All right, guys, so I'm going to do the reading for the week to see what the cards have to say and how to handle the energy for this week, this very Capricorn energy for this week, which, I'm actually looking forward to having the natal Venus in Capricorn. I'm a big fan. Okay. All right. So let's see. Well, okay. So the energy of the week might be a little harsh. And I was just thinking about how didn't mention before, but I think I've mentioned this before, but the moon is in detriment in Capricorn, so it's not a very like touchy-feely moon. But I mentioned also how we have Pluto there, like co-present with the moon, co-present with Venus, right? Or the new moon, co-present with the new moon and Venus. So the energy of the week is we have the Five of Cups. So, really tough energy emotionally. I think this is going to be a week where we're going to see some endings happening and having to say goodbye to like people or things in our life. Um, Yeah, but having the maturity. So what I'm getting from this card is having the maturity and the wisdom to move forward. But that doesn't mean the change isn't going to be difficult emotionally. So really moving on and making transitions this week, um, possibly just in the way that we think, the way that we do things, but it could actually be something very physical, like where we have a change in our relationship, where it could be a breakup or like leaving a job or leaving a home or something along those lines, like where we're going to have to move on and cut things off and like we have the wisdom, we know it's time to change, but feeling devastated emotionally, like really feeling that grief and that loss emotionally, like even though it's going to be good and it's going to be productive, um, and we know it's the right time, really having that sense of grief and loss that we have to move on. Um, from something that we held on to, something that had promise, something that gave us like pleasure at one time. And, but also having the maturity to know when it's time to leave. Okay. All right. So the next thing is the advice for the week, right? I just feel like, okay. So there's some good and bad things going on. All right. So we have the advice for the week is this over here. Let's see it there. The Knight of Swords reversed. So really, like definitely like what I was getting from this card and the transits from the week is that we're going to have to let go of a person, a relationship that we have that is like that needs to change, and that we need to move forward from. Yeah, so like there's a person in our life that is causing changes in us, um like with disagreements or like being like having like fights with this person or disagreements or not seeing eye to eye in the way that we think about things. um we're having a conflict or disagreement from this person, arguments, right? Maybe avoiding each other, maybe the relationship has been cut off. But maybe more like, or because this is collective, it could be like a fight or a disagreement with this person and not seeing eye to eye. And it's time to let go of, and it's time to let go. It's time to let go of the argument. It's time to let go of trying to make this person like love you, make this person see things the way you see them. Um, yeah, like make this person love or appreciate you, or um show you kindness and respect the way that you want them to. It's time to like put those ideas aside of like trying to make this person be a certain way. Like we have to cut off the way that we're thinking and come up with new ways to make ourselves feel secure. And that's not saying at all, like with that we shouldn't be treated with respect and love and dignity, but stop trying to control this person and the way that they're acting. We have to know when to step away from an argument, when to kind of release ourselves from that, like stepping away from it ourselves. Not that we're not communicating with that person, but like there's this rigid way that we want this relationship to be, and that's what we have to let go of. We can still demand things like, that they treat us with respect and love, that they talk to us the right way, that that they show us that we're to be respected. That's no question, right? You don't have to deal with any behavior that's like abusive, right? Or nasty, right? We don't have to deal with that. But what we do need to let go of is the idea that that person needs to be a certain way for us to be happy or secure. That's not true. And so, like, that's what we need to let go of on a mental level. Now, what that's going to look like on the outside is going to mean different things, right? So it could be stepping away from a relationship, but it can also be just changing the way that we are in our relationship, like the way that we do things in that relationship. So cutting off a pattern or behavior that's been happening because of the way that we're thinking about things. Because with this Knight of Swords, it's talking about the mental level and communication and ideas. Um, yeah, and so you'll decide for yourself. I'm going to get a little more guidance. You're going to decide for yourself like what that change is going to be. So, it could be changing a job, could be breaking up, could be moving, like could be ending friendships or, even not going to a program for school because it's not working for you. You're not getting like the thing. But make sure that you're doing it because it's something that you really think like should be done like for your security and not you trying to control or manipulate another person. And this is advice for myself. I'm not like accusing anybody of that. Like that's just human nature, human behavior. We want security. We want people to act in a certain way. And so like we demand that of people, right? But that's at the end of the day, it's not it's that's not what true happiness, like that's not going to create true happiness, because even if somebody follows like the way even if we demand something from someone and they do exactly everything we want, then we're wondering, oh, are they just acting that way because we made them act that way? Like um there's never any like security in that, being able to take action that we feel good about, and making sure that we are just um, like putting the responsibility on ourselves to make those changes is going to be helpful. So, um, with that being said, the outcome of the week is actually looking pretty good. So whatever changes, like whatever disagreement or whatever changes or whatever like arguments or whatever we're having on a mental level, at the end of the week, it's actually going to be super nurturing to our relationship. So, like I said, we might be changing the way that we think about our relationships and how we are and what we want. Um, and so, whatever disagreement that's happening, whatever conflict, however we're approaching it, that conflict is going to um, lead to feeling a certain sense of closeness in our relationship. So it may not actually be necessarily like leaving a relationship, but the way we're leaving is changing. Um, yeah, and so I think like at the end of the day, this is going to be a very productive conflict um, that kind of like putting forth our own needs and desires and just saying like this is where I stand, this is what I want, is going to help us come together in a harmonious, pleasurable way and help us to navigate our relationships and our environment. So even if it doesn't go smoothly, even if you're demanding, even if you're putting like the heat on the other person to do what you want to do, or to like give you what you want, whatever conflict, whatever comes up, don't worry about it, because it's going to lead to more harmony. So whether it's engaging in that conflict with somebody and arguing with them or separating from them, it's going to lead to more security. Like whatever comes out of that, like conflict with that young male figure, whoever that is going to lead to a better relationship. Okay. But definitely, yeah, definitely we're talking about big transitions and changes, looking at the mind, body, and spirit. And so we have a major arcana card showing us again the theme. So in our minds, we know that it's time to have a change, right? I said we know it's time to have a transition. Um, but in our minds, we might not want to move forward. So we might have this conflict with this young male figure. Um, and we know like we're making changes, but we're grieving over that change, and like we're having emotional difficulties. So like we know this change is happening, but we don't want to think about it. We want to kind of like just like block it, pound it out, like not think about it. Not necessarily like think about the changes. and doing things to avoid changes. So this may not be the week necessarily, actually, like where we necessarily make a change. We may just be thinking about leaving things or changing things too, because we're definitely holding on to this relationship. So maybe no final endings, but having a sense of liberation, in some way in our relationships with putting forth our ideas. Um, hmm. And then with our bodies, I think this week, like our bodies are going to feel super vital, super fertile, like pleasurable. Like we're going to feel like renewed, restored in our body. So like that makes me think, the beginning of the year, usually people are going to the gym, and working on their health and like feeling good about themselves. So that's one thing, like that could be happening with this Venus and Capricorn too. It just changes in your body and your physical health. And the way that you treat your physical body, because Venus in Capricorn is a very physical sign. So really feeling in your body, like really feeling inspired for your body, like restored and renewed in like our like physical vitality. Like yeah, like really feeling like that in our body. Um, and making a new change in like our physical actions in our physical world. So despite all of this difficulty, like despite all of this like big changes, that's why I'm kind of like, what is this card about? Because like we have these like this really good energy, feel good energy in our body. So that's going to feel some relief. Like physically, we're going to feel pretty good, pretty vital, pretty in sync with ourselves, and just like really feeling very nurtured in our body. Um, and then with our spirit, we have the Page of Wands. So let me see what's going on with this. Yeah. In our spirit, so we may have a female figure helping us out as far as the conflict for the week, a young female figure or feminine figure, um, like encouraging us, like helping us to move forward, and really try things, like maybe try new experiences, um, and really helping us to find the wisdom in our experience, and really connecting with our soul and our vitality. A young female figure, is going to help us feel vital in some way. Maybe a sister, someone close to us, a friend, mentor, like a coworker, like could be your boss, young female boss, or a daughter, like just somebody, young female figure close to you. Young is very relative, right? So maybe with this conflict, you're having a conflict with this person, and you're calling like your girlfriend or sister or coworker up, and you're like, what do I do? And they are like helping to give you wisdom and to help you through this transition, and help you feel a little bit better emotionally about the transitions that are happening. I mean, so overall, like a conflict and a change, related probably to a young male figure. But the change, I'm thinking, like looking at these cards again overall, is going to be more mental, like the way that we look about things. We may come to a point where we physically cut things off or leave, but this may not be the week. It's just we may just be evaluating it mentally, but that at the end of the day, we're going to find that relationship, at least with that person, or maybe with this person that we're calling to for help, is going to feel super nurtured. But I'm thinking this is more related to like this personal conflict that we have with a young male figure. At the end of the day, we're going to feel super emotionally connected to them, and feel like we navigated that situation and negotiated that situation in a way where we feel like pretty good emotionally about it. So really seeing like productive changes emotionally, but definitely a change, and maybe not wanting to cut things off completely just yet, holding on to things. All right, guys, so as promised, here are the cards for the week for you. So if you'd like to reflect on them a little bit more, you can pause the video. And that's all I have. So if you like this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and to share it out, share the love, share the wealth, if you like this video. And I hope you guys have a great week, and I will see you in the next video. Love you guys so much. Take care. Bye. If you like this video, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell to be notified for whenever I release a new video every single week.